Hello, welcome to the Gorgeous Goddess YouTube channel. Today's video is about reincarnation, and it's just some musings on reincarnation in case it helps anybody out there. I think for a lot of people who are exploring spirituality and they're expanding their horizons, and for those people who are maybe looking outside of the mainstream religions, those people that describe themselves as not religious but spiritual, I think reincarnation is a big step to take in terms of their beliefs, but it's really quite important in relation to your relationship with God or Source or the universe, to look at the issue of reincarnation, because there's actually quite a lot of pain in people around life on earth and what that is like at the moment, and looking at reincarnation can give people a lot of peace. And I think if you're somebody who's thinking about reincarnation, I would like to encourage you to just dive into that and explore it fully. And I want to just talk about why reincarnation. And I think the first thing that comes to mind about why reincarnation is, if not reincarnation, if you think about, what heaven is like on this idea of you get one lifetime, either heaven is very, very, very empty, or it's filled with people that it's filled with people that maybe you wouldn't expect to be in heaven. If you take this idea that you are born, you have one lifetime, and that's it, you either go to heaven, hell, purgatory. Who's actually going to heaven? Like, think about all the people that you know. Think about all the people in the world right now. Would you let any of them into heaven on those concepts that we have of, heaven being this place for when you're very godlike? I think we need to admit that none of us on that concept are going to heaven. So reincarnation is kind of necessary, because otherwise what you're saying is that you've got like your current lifespan of currently about 70 to 80 years, and that's it. And after that, if you don't get your shit together, you got to go somewhere else. And if you believe the Christian concept of purgatory, then your only other option, if you don't make it, is to suffer for your sins in this place until you suffered enough, and then you might get let into heaven. When you accept that kind of idea, it really skewers your idea of who or what God is, because it's kind of like, it's not a very nice thing to subject your children to. So there you go to this really challenging planet, go and grow up with all these wounds and being treated not so nicely, and if you don't get your shit together by the time you die, you're either burning in hell or you're suffering in purgatory, and then I might let you back into my kingdom. It's really not very nice. So I think if you subscribe to that, God's not a very nice person, but God's actually pure love. There is no suffering that is ever imposed on us. Everything is a function of free will. And reincarnation as a concept allows you to connect with a God or a source being or a creator that gives you lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes, and never really says that's it, it's too late for you. So I think that's the really important thing about reincarnation, is that is that depending on whether you believe it or not, in it or not, will depend on how you view Source and God. And reincarnation is really quite a beautiful thing, because we're not making it in one lifetime. Look at the history of the earth. I don't think many people from history have made it just in just one go. So you get many goes, and you get to try different things and try things from different perspectives, and it's really a beautiful grace that you get given. But again, if you're not really quite open to it, I would like to maybe share how I came to believe in reincarnation. There's nothing like a good personal story. And I used to do a lot of personal development because I really didn't like how I felt on the inside about myself. And I remember there was a point in my life where I just went, my mind and my personality are going to kill me. Not physically kill me, but I just can't live with this anymore. I can't live with, the self-judgment and the anxiety and the aggressive dislike of myself that I had. So I decided I better do some personal growth. And I did look a lot at maybe how is what I'm experiencing now, how has that been impacted by maybe decisions I've made in the past or experiences that I've had in the past. And I spent a long time going back to my childhood and looking, when my mum or dad said this, or when this happened, I can see how that might have made me feel like this, and that's probably why I've taken on this aspect of my personality. And I did that for quite a while. And then I started coming up to feelings where I just couldn't place them anywhere in my life. I'm like, there's nothing really that happened to me that can explain this feeling that I've got. I just could not find any explanation for it. So I think the first time when I had a past life flashback, I was not expecting to go into a past life. I had this sense that I don't deserve friends. I had this sense that not only do people not like me, but I'm actually not worthy of being liked by friends. And I searched my whole life. And the funny thing was that as I went back to being a child, I remembered having this feeling even as a little child, which I couldn't really explain. So this is where I was drawing blanks. And I remember as I went off to sleep one day, I kind of asked myself that question again. Where did this feeling of being unworthy of friends come from? And before I was actually asleep, just as I was starting to relax a little bit, boom, this image came into my head, and it was like an 18th century sepia type scene. And, they always say when you have a vision like that, look down at your feet. Where are you? Who are you? And I was a little boy. I looked at my feet, and I had these rough shoes on, and I had a strong sense that I was a little boy. It was pretty mind-blowing. And I saw this scene play out where I was just mucking around throwing rocks, and I accidentally hit my friend in the head and probably split open his head. And this strong sense of shame came over me, and I don't deserve friends. And I went, well, that would explain it. But then I went, okay, now we have to look at reincarnation, because this concept had high explanatory value. You could explain a lot, in science. You like those you would like to take as a hypothesis something that can explain the phenomenon that you're viewing. Obviously, that's the hypothesis that you would test, the one that has the capacity to explain what you're trying to understand. And so this flashback, I didn't know what to believe. I was kind of like the idea of reincarnation, but I didn't know if I could trust this flash in my head. But the reason I did trust it is because it perfectly explained this feeling about being not worthy of friends. So since then, I've had a lot of really weird feelings that I couldn't place and that I couldn't explained by going back into past lives. So it's almost a relief, because otherwise you look at the human condition, you might feel into yourself, and there might be a lot of pain that you are experiencing. And, again, this might make you bitter at the being that you identify as God or the creator, because why am I in this life with so much pain? And if you think that this is the first time and the only time that you're alive, and you're experiencing yourself with so much limitation, you might think that you were created this way with so much limitation. And it might make you think that you're not really divine, or, God doesn't love you that much. But really, if you understand that it took lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes for this suffering to kind of invade you, it might make a lot of sense to you. And it might make you realize that it might take quite a long time to unburden yourself of all of this. And also, you don't have to achieve it all in this lifetime. You do get another go. So I hope that thinking about this brings you a sense of relief. If any of those things that I've described are things that you've either experienced or felt within yourself, maybe explore the idea of reincarnation and see if it does bring you some relief. And go gentle on yourself, because you might be clearing hundreds of lifetimes worth of trauma and worth of negative energy. And this is something that is happening right now. There's a lot of energy entering the earth, and we are going through a little bit of a cleanse. So if you have got feelings and emotions that you can't explain, and you're not, you might be thinking that you're going crazy, but you're not. These emotions do come from somewhere. And, don't think that you're crazy if you're experiencing things that you can't explain, because there are lifetimes and lifetimes of experiences that you might not remember right now. So it's appropriate, is how I would put it. It's appropriate that sometimes feelings come up that you don't know where they're coming from, and it's okay. It's okay just to be with those feelings, and you don't even need to understand, because we've got this tendency, when we have a feeling, we want to try to explain it. When a feeling of dread comes over us, what we try to do, our mind kind of doesn't want to feel like we're not in control. When a feeling comes up, our mind tries to come up with a narrative that would explain it. So, oh, geez, I'm feeling like, let's just come up with an example. I'm feeling really unappreciated, or I'm feeling really, I don't know, hurt in some way. I'm feeling a lot of sadness come up. And what our mind tends to do is it tends to look for what's happening in life right now. Oh, it must be my partner. And we construct these narratives and stories to attach the feelings that we're experiencing to what's happening in our everyday life. And that kind of gets us, it just adds to the mess, because sometimes the feelings come up and they don't have really too much to do with what is going on in your life right now. It might be something that triggered it. But if we are always trying to explain our feelings, sometimes the explanation actually gets that feeling stuck, okay? Because then we sometimes explain it in a way that isn't correct, because we don't have access to what's actually caused this feeling. And what I would suggest is, if you've got feelings coming up in you that you can't explain, it's okay just to feel them, let them go without any explanation, and just know, maybe it's something that happened last time I was here, and I don't really need to understand or explain this or put this into a narrative. I just need to go, okay, we're going to feel this right now, and let's just let that go. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you've got your own ideas about reincarnation or your own experiences, please leave me a comment. Thanks.